You are now entering That One Studio for the What Are You Made Of show with your host, Mike C-Roc, and his guest, who will be sharing what they're made of. The journey to success has been invisible until now. Sit back, relax, get your notepad ready, and enjoy the show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, calm it down, folks. That's enough. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the applause. I appreciate all million of you in the studio here today, live at That One Studio. We're back on the What Are You Made Of show with your boy C-Roc in the building. I got a great guest today for you guys. Thomas Keenan's here, and this guy, you know, he looks like he's from Texas. He lives in Texas, but he's really from Long Island, New York. And he said he didn't fit in there either in the green room. But I'm excited about this guest today. We're gonna be interviewing. I think we have a lot of alignment here. He's a renowned custom car audio installer, evolved into a COO after co-founding a top GPS tracking and dash camera installation company. He transformed into a high-level business coach for successful entrepreneurs, relocating, as I mentioned, from New York City to Texas to establish Step It Up Academy. With features in Forbes and other prestigious publications, Thomas is a two-time best-selling author, sought-after public speaker, and host of the Step It Up Entrepreneur podcast. Thomas, man, welcome to the show.
C-Roc, man, I'm looking forward to this. It's not every day that I get to have a conversation with a fellow dude from the Northeast. And, you know, as much as I love Texas, home is still home.
Yeah, you know, I like Texas too, except for the Cowboys. So that's my one thing. I go to Dallas for a speaking event a couple weeks ago, and we actually went to the Star at their practice facility, and we did some content shooting. I'm like, how am I here? I mean,
Well, hold on, because I live about 10, 15 minutes from there, right? Put the Cowboys aside.
Yeah.
Right. Take the brand away. That facility is amazing.
Oh yeah, forget about it. Like I was actually saying that. I was like, I went into the store where they had all their stuff, and I'm like, man, this would be cool if this was my team.
Yeah.
Did you know?
Get to the Cowboy Club?
No, I didn't get there. No.
Next time you come down, hit me up. We'll go to the Cowboy Club's private club that's on the second floor.
Okay.
And
yeah, awesome.
It's a real cool experience. You actually get to look over and watch practice.
Yeah, I saw inside. Like I was looking inside. You know, it's kind of ironic. If Eagle fan showed up and he's looking from the outside in, like the window, like this, checking it out. So I got a kick out of it. I'm not an asshole Eagle fan, like you know, most Phillies known for. But no. Anyway, so yeah, man, great to have you on the show today. We start this show the same way every time, and that's so I don't go down a rabbit hole and get off track. And that's with the question, Thomas. What are you made of?
It's a loaded question. I'll give you the best version of it here. Grit, determination. When I make up my mind to do something, you've got two choices. You got two options. Number one is get on the bus and come along for the ride, or you're gonna get run over. Like that's just it. And usually when I do make up my mind, like that's it. It's set, and we're making moves here. And it's kind of just been that way since day one. I've been born that way, and I've made a lot of decisions and taken a lot of action that way, and it's served me well so far in the 44 years I've been here.
Yeah, so I had a lady on yesterday. She said a similar answer. A lot of people on this show say the similar things, and it's because I interview successful people, and what it takes to be successful is what you said. But also, I asked her too. I'll ask you this: is it also a form of stubbornness?
Oh, for sure.
Hard-headedness, right?
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of dude where like, and this happened for me in business. I failed the first business miserably after 5 years, and the second business, I made all the same dumb mistakes over again for the first 5 years. I have to go and smash my head against the wall full force 800 times in a row for me to learn a lesson. But once I learn the lesson, I'm good.
Yeah, but how many times you got to learn the lesson? I mean, no, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. You know, when you say something about a decision and it's on when I make that decision, that's most people, but they just don't understand. Decision is what leads to everything in your future, and that's what causes belief systems is a decision. And very simply, it's just as easy as making the decision in the first place to change the decision and change where you're going and where you are now. It's as simple as that, but people make it complicated.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you're running your businesses and you fail, can you tell us like what happened? Why did you fail? Like, I don't know why, but like what happened?
Yeah.
What were you doing wrong?
First time round was I was a really good technician. Like I was a badass in the car. I knew what I was doing, right? Went to trade school, like really studied and practiced my craft for years, was really good at it. Had a lot of people coming to me, paying big dollars, wanting some crazy stuff built in fancy cars. Cool. So I worked for someone for a number of years, learning that skill set, kind of under their umbrella, right under their wing. And I got to a point where I was like, hey man, like I know more than this guy. I can do it better than him. Yeah, so you think. Here's the deal, right? Most people listening to this show and yourself, you've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, Pareto's principle, right? My theory is this. Doing the actual work, the fulfillment side of things. If you have a service-based business, it's you going into the field doing the work. If you're an attorney, that's you actually practicing law. That's 20% of your overall business, if that. The 80% is all the other unshiny object crap that no one wants to deal with, talk about, but is mandatory, is necessary for a business to operate and be successful. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about sales. We're talking about, getting your financials in order. So making sure you got a good bookkeeper, CFO or CPA on hand, making sure your stuff's dialed in there, making sure your legal's dialed in, making sure your marketing's dialed in, like all these back-end systems and processes that no one wants to focus any effort or energy into, because they'd rather just stay where they're comfortable, which is doing the work, because that's what they've done for the last 5, 10, 15 years. So that's where I screwed it up. I went in there, I was like, oh, I'll just do all the work. I'll be the installer because that's where I'm comfortable. And I did. And I had people coming in. But at the same point in time, I wasn't taking care of them properly. I wasn't taking care of the back end of the business properly to fully support the other side of the house. And you could only do that for so long before it's just going to crumble and burn to the ground.
And so what part of that were you lacking in that other stuff?
All of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you didn't have a problem with new sales coming in and revenue, generating revenue, or did you have that part too?
My mindset on sales then was so different. I never looked at myself as a salesperson, right? Like, oh, sales is this icky thing. Like that's some used car dealership crap, some slimy, greasy dude. Like I don't want nothing to do with that. But when you start to understand business at a higher level, right? I have a couple of rules that I live by. Without marketing, there is no sales. And without sales, there is no business. Once you understand that and you understand the importance of that, all of a sudden sales isn't like, oh, that's an icky thing. No, sales is the thing that's necessary that I need to go figure out. I need to study it. I need to get good at it. And if I don't, my business isn't going to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. And most of the time should be spent on that, especially in the beginning of a business. Yeah. Like I love it. I love it. So, going out of this, why, I guess after that first business failed 5 years, I don't know why it took 5 years to fail. Shit. I mean, that seems like it was like a long time, like slow drip or something.
Strong will, hard-headedness, deep ingrained work ethic that, was passed down from other family members that I learned. Like, I got no problem working, right? Like you want to go work 18, 20-hour days, let's roll and do it for a stretch. And also I was young at the time. I started that business. I was 20 or 21 years old. So I had all of the energy in the world to work those dumb hours. And, after a while, what wound up happening, you work all these hours, you're pouring all this time into this, you forget you first. So the version of me you see here today is 6'4", 275 in pretty decent shape. And the version back then was this dude who was putting everything first in his life, who also ballooned up to 315 pounds. And it was not a good looking 315 pounds, let me tell you.
Did you play sports?
I did.
Yeah. Football?
Yeah. Football and baseball.
And did you go to college to play sports?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I got hurt in my senior year of high school football. Had a couple people looking at me as far as, going to some schools and whatnot. I wasn't a great student. Like I didn't fit in school well. Like I don't like the structure of school. And again, this is also me and being hard-headed. I want to learn what I want to learn, not what you're going to tell me I need to learn. So that doesn't work too well with our current modern school system. So I wound up getting hurt and I stumbled into this whole car audio thing. I got family members who were in the automotive space for years. So I was hanging out with them, like my uncles and whatnot, working in their shops with them, learning how to work on cars. I knew I didn't want to be a mechanic. I knew I didn't want to be an auto body technician. I knew I didn't want to be a detailer. I had done all that stuff already, not at a very high level, but it had dabbled in it. And then I stumbled across this thing called car audio. I was like, oh shit. There's music, right? So there's this thing. I love music as a kid, and I can pair it with a car. And I'm 17 years old. I'm a dude growing up in Long Island, like the height of the car audio boom. Like, of course I want to do this.
I remember those days, the woofers and all that stuff, man. And everybody had to get their trunk. They couldn't fit anything in their trunk. I had a problem where I started golfing and I'm like, shit, I can't take my golf clubs anywhere because I got this box in the trunk. So then I had to sacrifice my quality of music in my car to put my golf clubs in the back, or they had to sit in the back seat, Oh man. So after that business, then like when it failed and you finally like realized it,
Yeah.
what did you do next? Like, what was the next step?
Um, I went back and worked for someone for a couple of years. Met this dude through a friend of mine. He was in the automotive space too, and he was on the east end of Long Island, a good hour and a half from where I was living at the time. And he contacted me. He needed someone to run the 12 volt, the audio portion of his store. And this guy did everything. He did lift kits, wheels and tires, like anything car accessory he did. And like I was just in a bad spot mentally. I was in a bad spot financially. I was in a bad spot health and fitness. And like here I am just piling up this debt because I can't get this business to work. And this dude is like, "Hey man, you got to throw the towel in over there. And if you don't, like it's only going to get worse. And here's why." And this is also someone speaking from experience because 20 years prior he was me, right?
Yep.
Like, and that's the importance of finding a mentor or a coach, in my opinion, too, right? Surrounding yourself with people who've done some real things in life. So have a couple conversations with him, and the dude like literally brings me in and treats me as if I'm one of his sons. And I spent 3 years rebuilding myself with this guy, learning more about life, learning more about business, learning more about how to treat customers, learning more about my trade as far as working in the vehicles. And once again, like this entrepreneurial itch is coming back, and I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on here? So some life altering events started happening. Wound up getting married, and a couple weeks after, I was just like, I gotta go, dude. Like, thank you so much for all the help and the guidance that you've given me, but I feel that if I stay here with you, I'm not going to be happy 2 or 3 years from now, and I don't want to waste any more time. So let me go and do this thing. And the dude basically gave me a blessing, pulled out a wad of cash and said, "Here you go, good luck." And I'm still good friends with him to this day. It's someone I still, consider part of my circle of people who I trust and have conversations with and respect the shit out of. So with that, man, went into the GPS tracking and dash camera space. So took the skill set that we had in the car stereo world, partnered up with the gentleman, and we were 50-50 partners. I was in that company 11 years, and we both come from the car audio world. So the skill set that we had as custom car audio installers was way beyond the scope needed to install a good high quality tracking device, right? To put it in perspective, like you coming from the Northeast, cold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cold season comes around, like
Yeah.
we're coming into it now. People want their remote starts, right? They want the car to be nice and warm. So traditionally, a remote start install, you're talking 30, 35, sometimes 40 connections to a vehicle,
Damn.
right? If you mess up one of those, that car is toast, and it's going to the dealer, and it's going to cost someone a lot of money, right? So you have to be a very skilled person in order to install that stuff properly. Versus this GPS tracking world, granted, we don't make as much money per vehicle, but it's a 3-wire connection. So I don't need the same skill set of a technician to go out there and do the work. Oh, look at that. This is way more scalable. I don't have to send someone to trade school for months. I don't have to put someone under my wing for 2 years to train them properly.
Less risk.
Yeah, I could bring somebody in, and in 6 weeks, I can kick them out on their own and say, "Hey, man, have at it. Go get it. Let's go make some money." And that's what we wind up doing. We started landing some big contracts with some really big GPS providers. We were subcontractors for the AT&Ts, the Verizons, the Teletrack Navmans, the Nextracks, and a bunch of other companies that probably a lot of people haven't heard of. And it was a beautiful model. Like we were the hired wrench. We had the skill set. We were the installers. We showed up at the customer's location and we put the hardware in. The GPS company sold the product and the software to the end user, which is the fleet owner, the HVAC trucks, the food delivery vehicles, UPS or FedEx, big machine rental fleets like United Rentals across the US. I mean, we're talking like hundreds of thousands of vehicles. And when you start looking at this from a macro scale, you pull yourself out and you get that 30,000 foot view across the country, you're like, whoa, there's a lot of potential out there. How do we now build this company? How do we build this structure to go capitalize on that? Because now we're not selling B2C, business to consumer. We're selling B2B. And lesson learned here for anyone who's listening, who's in that space or considering maybe making a switch. People used to come into us in a retail store and say, "Hey, I want a custom audio system." Cool. Right up the quote, $10,000. And they go, you go into a commercial client who's got a fleet of box trucks who says, "Hey, I need backup cameras on these trucks in order to stay compliant with state regulations. and you say, all right, cool, it's going to be 30 G's to do all your trucks. And that guy busts out his checkbook and writes a check to you on the spot and says, cool, no problem. Big difference. Big difference in business. So,
Yeah,
getting experience and seeing this firsthand really just expanded my mindset, expanded the thinking. Now you start thinking more abundantly and you're like, dude, there's money everywhere. But how do we go and grab our piece of it by still doing the right thing and still being in integrity with our clients?
Yeah, that's a good point. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, the B2B and the budgets that are available. They're just up for the taking. How did you go to market with that product from the beginning and get those contracts? Like, what was the go to market strategy in the initial?
Kind of had a foot in the door, man. My now ex-business partner, he was a direct employee for one of the companies that we wound up subcontracting for.
Okay.
So he was a direct employee as an installation technician. They came out, corporate basically said, hey, we're getting rid of our employee, our W-2 employee techs, and we're switching to a subcontractor model. He got wind of this a couple months in advance and said, cool, I quit. And he quit. And we had, probably, 30, 60-day ramp up period where we were able to go in, fire up the LLC, get all the insurance necessary. But we had already been doing that kind of work for, a handful of years. I used to go out and help them out, weekends kind of thing. So we're very familiar with the process, but we had to go put the structure of the business in place so that when they made the switch from employee to contractor, we were ready to go. So we got our foot in the door with this company out of the gate. And then, there's more companies that sell this product and this software to end users. Cool. Let's go knock on their door and say, hey, we cover the Northeast. We cover, North Jersey, maybe down to Philly. We'll cover all of New York. Well, not all of New York, up to Albany. Because, you go crazier. It's hours. People don't realize how big New York State is.
Yeah, no.
And, obviously a little bit of New England, Connecticut, Long Island, all that stuff. So we started reaching out to other companies. And this is go back now 9-10 years ago, right? LinkedIn was a lot different than what it is now. There wasn't as much spam on LinkedIn in your inbox. So when you actually sent a message to someone on LinkedIn, it was going through to someone who could possibly be in a very big seat within a company.
Yep.
So that was the strategy for me was, hey man, I'd spend a couple hours a day on LinkedIn reaching out to very specific and targeted people, and I'd start building relationships with them. And if they weren't the right person, they had no problem saying, hey, it's business. Like they know they need our services. Like, hey, I'm not the right person to talk to. Here's Joe Smith. Here's his email. Here's his phone number. Reach out to him. I know for a fact that he needs installation technicians who are reliable in your area. Cool. Let's roll. And that was it, man. It was very, I guess, organic. Maybe you still got to go do the work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then once you start giving yourself a name and people realize and understand that you're actually going to show up on time and do what you say you're going to do, that's when the organic really starts to kick in and people start handing your name out. And the beauty of that model too was I didn't have to go sell something every day. I didn't have to go land a new client every week.
Yep.
When I landed one client, one GPS company, and we showed up and did the right thing for them, they would test us out. Hey, here's a small project here. Hey, here's 2 installs over here. Here's a couple of repairs for that guy over there. Hey, here's 10 installs over here. They check us out and make sure that we did the work properly. And then when we actually proved to them that we weren't the wrong crew, they would literally just turn the faucet on, dude. And all of a sudden, we become the GPS installation provider for that area, for that company.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
And when that happens, all you do is take orders. Like I had an office full of people who sat back and took orders all day and scheduled my technicians to go out on the road and do work.
Now, is that a business because it was newer and that the vehicles didn't have that stuff and you had to add that stuff and now they're starting to build them on there? Was it diminishing at some point?
It's always been a threat in the aftermarket automotive world, right? Because back in the day when I got into car stereo, like, cars are going to start coming out with factory amps and subwoofers soon and Bluetooth. Yeah, it happened. It's still there, but there's always a better version of it aftermarket, right? Same deal with the factory telematics devices, right? So Ford has been trying to kick out a telematics device for years at this point, and they just can't keep up with the features that the aftermarket devices can give the client.
Gotcha.
From a business perspective, right? Here's what people don't understand about the telematics space. It's not about necessarily knowing where your driver is or playing Big Brother and saying, is he speeding? You know, is he going too fast? Did he take a corner too hard? Like, yeah, that's information you can get for sure. But the guys who are really leveraging, the companies who are really leveraging the telematics industry are taking the data that's collected from all of their vehicles, all their fleets across states, counties, you know, whatever it may be. And they're taking that data, they're analyzing the data, and they're turning it into actionable data. So this data, they have data analysts on their team who are studying this stuff nonstop. When you read the data and you start, you know, going into and this is stuff that's way above my pay grade, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But when you start having real data analysts look at this information, you can start making real-time decisions that will better your business. Not based on, oh, I think this is going to help, or no, this is 100% going to help us because it's either going to cut time or cut costs or both.
Yeah, I mean, that's like sports, man. Sports has changed in baseball and football. You know, I sat down next to a guy. I was in Oxford, Mississippi. I went down to the Ole Miss LSU game, and I was at a sushi bar. I was hanging out with this dude that works for this technology company that gathers data from all these football games, and then they provide this software that goes in, and then Coach Lane Kiffin knows exactly what to run at this particular situation. Like, it makes everything better, more efficient. Yeah. So I totally understand that. Now, what happened with that business? Is it still going? Or
yeah, still going.
Okay. You said ex-business partner, so I didn't know if
Yep. I got to a point, man. I started doing a lot of self-development on myself. So 5 years into that company, my wife comes to me and goes, "Hey, I'm pregnant." All right, cool. A couple days go by. Oh, life-altering event.
Wait a minute. Is that what you said? Oh, cool. Yeah. I don't think that would go over very well.
No, it probably didn't.
Shit.
So that to me was a life-altering event. It was like, man, I'm bringing a living, breathing human being into the world, and I'm 35 at that point. Like, the business is okay, it's doing its thing, but I wasn't taking anything serious at that point. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Right. Like, I didn't really fully grow up until then. And all right, cool. I see this possibility, right? And we've made the choice to do things, but we haven't necessarily taken the action at this point, right? So now I'm like, all right, I understand that there's potential here, but I have no idea how to execute on it. Like, it's beyond my scope. It's beyond my skill set. What do I do? And went and talked to some people, got some insight, and had a couple conversations. Wound up hiring my first business coach at that point. And the dude sat down with me and my partner, and we went through a bunch of things. And that dude led to another one. The second guy led to a third one. And we got some really good, valuable information from all of these dudes. Along this path, these guys that we're paying, you know, a bunch of money to help advise us and kind of point us in the right direction. Remember, the first guy I hired, his name was Richard. He was an old cat. He's like, "Hey, if you're going to work with me, you're going to read. It's non-negotiable." And I was like, "Come on, bro. I ain't got time for that. Like, I'm on the road 16 hours a day, working my tail off. You know, like, I don't read like books. Like, I read installation guides and manuals. Like, I'm up on my trade." And he's like, "Yeah, that's going to change." And like, I'm grateful for that guy to this day, because what wound up happening was the dude gave me a stack of books. He's like, get these read. You'll get a better understanding of what's needed. And that kicked off or reignited my love of learning outside of the automotive world. And long story short, I just jumped headfirst into the self-development space, right? Started learning a lot about leadership, start learning a lot about mindset, start learning a lot about health and fitness and how it affects you as a producer, as a leader, as someone that other people look up to. Started learning about the importance of communication, different forms of communication, and why they're so important for a business owner or a leader to take on and understand at a very deep intrinsic level, right? Okay, cool. What does this all mean? So start going through all the stuff, learning. Now I can't get enough of it, right? And when you got that fire inside of you, you do what's necessary and you go out and you keep finding more of it. So go out, find more, go to new events, go to conferences, start learning stuff from software companies. Like, I'm learning a whole new world of stuff at this point. And got to the point where I started taking these things that I was learning and implementing them at ridiculous pace into the installation company. And what wound up happening was you put that much forceful effort, positive forceful effort into something in order to grow it. And now all of a sudden the industry starts taking notice of you. So I fired up a Facebook group for the GPS tracking industry, because man, there's a need here. There's a pain point. Like, there's guys all across the country who do what I do. We have no form of tech support. There's no community for us so we can communicate and help each other out. Like, what if I just go build it? And this is Facebook groups, so like this new thing at the time. So cool, let's go crank one up. And still to this day, it's an active group with nearly 2,000 members in it. I had no idea there's 2,000 people in the country who did GPS installs,
It's crazy.
right? So it's still there kicking. And what I wound up doing was I would go live in that Facebook group and I would open my playbook. Hey guys, like everyone in here does the same exact thing that I do, just in different areas of the country. This is the newest piece of tech that we rolled out that's helping us. This is a new tool or a new Excel spreadsheet that we developed that's allowing us to do job costing or estimating. This is, I'm bringing on a guest right now who owns a company who will help you book discounted hotel rooms because we're all road warriors.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We're all paying a ton of money in hotels all year long. Imagine if you got a 10% discount on every room. Like everyone's eyeballs like, oh, cool, I'm going to save some money. Right. So you start doing all this. And what winds up happening over time, if you do, it's like podcasting. You do it with consistency over and over and over again. And you wind up establishing yourself as the authority in space.
Yep.
So
Yep. And
with that comes the door knocks. With that comes the DMs and the text messages and the emails. Hey man, could you put eyes on this? Hey, I got a question for you. Hey, what'd you do in this situation? So I start helping all these people as much as I can. And what I'm realizing is I feel fulfilled when I help them. I look back at the business that I got, which is my livelihood, and it's producing and it's kicking off a couple $100,000 a year for me and the partner. And I'm like, I don't really feel that way about the business. It was a tool, it was a vehicle that got me here, but I'm not in love with it, man.
Yep.
Just not. And it got to the point where I was done with it. It was a very transactional business is what it turned into. The federal government got involved, and you know how they do things. Federal government got involved and basically said any over-the-road trucks have to have an electronic logbook device installed. So we went from clients who were like volunteering to have these devices installed to clients, truckers especially, who wanted nothing to do with this whatsoever, who are now mandated by the federal government to have it installed in their vehicle. So you show up at their place and they're giving you the cold shoulder.
you might as well be part of the government.
Yes. You're getting no-showed. You know, they're giving you the runaround. Oh, it's at this location. You show up there and like, oh, and actually the truck left. It's 30 miles up the road.
Yep.
And now you're chasing trucks all day. Like, I don't get paid to do that.
Yep.
So I just kind of got burned out with it, man. And it didn't feel good inside to go do help people like that. But it felt really good to help other genuine people who wanted success in their lives and businesses. And I kind of fell into it and I started helping people. And one of the organizations I was a member of as a client, as a coaching client, came to me and said, have you ever considered coaching? And if so, would you want to come coach for us? I was like, huh, kind of makes sense. So I don't know the business model, right? I'm not gonna blow smoke up someone's ass and say I do. So I get to go under your umbrella. You're gonna do all the marketing, all the sales, and you're gonna hand me a client who's ready to go. Yes. And you're gonna pay me to do this. Yes. Okay, where do I sign?
Right.
And it was October 2019. I landed my first 2 clients, and it was mind blowing because, first off, you paint this picture of your client avatar in your head, right? Most of us do.
Yep.
Whether you write it down or not, you kind of think of it. And I'm thinking like Johnny Smith, service-based business owner, male, 35 to 45 years old, married, 2 kids. You know, maybe his business is doing $1 million a year in gross sales. Like that's what I got pictured in my head, right? And when you're under someone else's umbrella as a coach and you don't have a say with which client comes over to you, like I get these first 2 clients delivered to me on a silver platter. They're both female. They're both alpha females who have killer businesses. One of them is an insurance broker out of Kansas, and the other one owns an industrial supply company that sells supplies to like prisons and MGM Grand Hotel. I'm like, how am I going to help these 2 women? Like, I know nothing about their businesses whatsoever. So get into the conversations, right? Because that's all coaching really is deep conversations. And in my opinion, a good coach is going to ask you a ton of questions, right? They're going to ask you questions and make you discover or stumble upon the answers that you need. So going through all these questions and stuff with these women, and I find out like, oh, they have the same structural problems in their companies that I had 5 years ago. They don't have core values. They don't have mission statements. They don't have a purpose. They don't have They don't have systems and processes in place. They don't have a dedicated person for X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay, cool. So this is just operational structure we got to help them implement and build in their companies. All right, cool. Let's go work on this. Now we've got a plan for the next 6 months. We know piece by piece what we need to go do, and now let's just track your progress as you go through it, and let's just stack the wins. And that's exactly what we did.
Yep. Yep. And everything worked out. And then you how did Step It Up Academy come about?
So 2020 comes, COVID's doing its thing up in New York like crazy. I started 75 hard for the first time, and I got about 3 days into it, and I was like, uh-oh. Like, dude, here. I wrote this book, okay, in June 2019. And the book here is heavily predicated on the importance of core values in your personal life and business. One of my personal core values is I refuse to be average. And I'm sitting down at the home office, and I'm doing some stuff, and it was like lightning bolt just hit me. I was like, uh-oh, like this isn't good. Like I didn't feel good inside. It's like you're living out of congruency with your core value of I refuse to be average. You got an average ass business, you got an average ass house, you got 2 average ass cars in the driveway, you got average ass relationships with people in your life, friends and family. What are you doing, bro? You can either stay like this and now you're a fraud, even though you wrote the book and core values, or you have a choice and you can take the action. It's not going to be comfortable, it's not going to be fun. Well, if I'm living and I want to be true to my values, there's only one option here. So sat down, had conversations with the wife, and we had been talking about moving for a while. Now's the time to move. Like my kids haven't been in school in months. They haven't seen friends. They're doing drive-by birthday parties for Christmas Day. Right? This is craziness.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. So she's like, yeah, I'm with you. So I sat down with the business partner. Bro, my time's out. Let's get a valuation on the company. We'll work something out where I sell you my half, and I'm just going to go on and do different things. So yeah, long story short, sold the house, sold the business, picked up the family, moved them from Long Island, New York to Dallas, Texas. We got here September 25th, 2020. And that summer leading up to the move, I was starting to wind down from my role in the company because my last day was November 1st of 2020. And starting to wind down. And I was like, man, I got extra time. I'm not one to sit around and do nothing. Like I just can't do it. The government's giving out money like crazy, right? And all these PPPs and EIDLs and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, it's meant for business purposes, so we may as well put it into business purposes. So started taking some of that money and hired a couple different firms to help me go build out the back end of what is now Step It Up Academy. Right? Cool. So the day that I get into Texas, we get into the house, we're going to file the LLC, and within a week or two, we'll have everything rocking and rolling. And like, we're going to move quick here and fire up, Step It Up. Cool. Everything's going good. The perfectly laid plan is being executed like to the T. 30 days later, the company that I was coaching for said, hey, by the way, they're based out of Dallas. We know you're here. Why don't you come work with us for a bit? Maybe we'll build some cool things. I was like, oh man, I just put all this back end work into this company. Now it's like, you got this choice in life. It's like, do I stick to what I got here, or do I go explore the potential of this opportunity that's in front of me? And this is part of my cycle. Like I work for someone, work for me, work for someone, work for me. So I actually accepted a role with them as COO of this big coaching and mastermind program, and sat in that seat for 20 months there. And I am grateful as all hell for the time I spent there, because I learned so much about the industry. Right. And they're still in business today, a much larger organization than what I currently run. And that's cool, because what that taught me was exactly what I didn't want mine to look like.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not against it. They're doing good things over there. But at the same point in time, I want to hold my clients' hands a little bit tighter. I want to be a little more face to face with them. I want them to have a little bit more direct access to me, because I know that me personally can help those people. And for the lifestyle that I want to live, I don't need that much money, right? And don't get me wrong, I don't hate money.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should. But also at my age, I've realized that, you don't necessarily need $30 million a year to call yourself successful. How much do you really need in order to live that lifestyle and provide for your kids and give them some really cool experiences and whatnot? And once you got that dialed in, man, it makes things a lot easier, because now it's just a reverse engineering game of what needs to happen in order to make that a reality.
Yep. 100%. So Step It Up's jamming now. You got a podcast as well. What's the deal with the podcast? How long has that been up and running?
2019, August 2019 started. So next week, check this out. Next week is my 200th episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have guests on too, or is it monologue style?
I've done a little bit of a hybrid model. I mostly do guests at this point. But every so often, if I got a hot topic or whatnot, I'll go in there and just rip it for 15, 20 minutes and just drop something out. But usually it's guests. We got a good system that's in place. The podcast game. Once you get beyond a certain amount of episodes, all the podcast booking agencies get your email.
Yep.
And they just start dripping people over to you
100%.
consistently.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's cool because now, and this is the beauty of podcasting. I want to hit this point here because you're very familiar as well. When at first I was like, oh, I don't know those people. I want nothing to do with them, which is a mistake.
Which people? Which one were you talking about?
From the podcast booking agencies.
Oh, yeah, the agencies.
Right? It's like, I got to go do my research on these people. I don't know if they're a good fit. Maybe the conversation won't be good. Don't do that. Go and have the conversations with these people because what it winds up doing is it winds up getting you out of your own network. Right? We're all in this little bubble of ours, and we think that we're king shit in this little bubble. And then you go and you meet, like, dude, I haven't met you before. Here we are having a great conversation here.
Same.
And like, who knows where this leads to 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now?
Shit.
Like, what
1 month or 6 months from now. What are you talking about? I move faster. I'm not a dater. Like, I don't date for long times, man. I commit fast. I'm just kidding. That was funny. No, I agree 100%, man. And I did the same thing. I would take people all the time. And but what is having that show done for you? Like, how does that change your life and business, having the show? And then also, I don't know, do you go on shows consistently? Yeah. So like doing both, like what has that done for you? Because I talk about this all the time.
It's done a lot of things, right? Credibility, first of all. One of my core values in business and personal is communication, right? Like, communication is everything. Like, here we are communicating, right? And there's, like I said earlier, there's all different forms of communication. But if you want to be a business leader, a business professional, a successful individual, you have to be an effective communicator, right? Every time that I come here and have a conversation with someone like you, I'm practicing my craft. I'm practicing public speaking. I'm practicing having a conversation with you. Maybe I'm practicing interviewing somebody, right? And one of the other keys here, which people don't realize, is the more you speak, the better you speak, the better you write. The better you write, the better you speak.
Yep.
And it's this big circle. So I get a lot of resistance with clients saying, "Hey, I don't want to get active on social media. I don't want to put my lifestyle." Cool. Like, first of all, stop playing small. It's my opinion.
Don't be a little bitch.
Exactly. If you go out there and you start writing consistently every day, right? And if you're in a business environment, you're probably gonna do this anyway because you should be writing emails, right? Whether it's one-to-one emails with a client or a prospect, whether it's emails that are going out in your CRM as far as email marketing is concerned, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, blog posts, back to the book again, right? Everyone should be writing daily. The more you write, the better you communicate. The better you communicate, the more money you make. Flat out.
Yep. I love it, man. I love it. You're spot on. All right. Well, as we wind down here, I appreciate your time, brother. What's next for you? Like, what's the vision? If you could sum that up in about a minute, like, what is that?
What's next? I had a detour this year, right? Going through a divorce, flat out transparent. That detour forced me to take my eye off the business ball more so than I wanted to for the year 2023. So we're just about to finalize things on my end over here, which is a blessing. And I'm just grateful that it's almost done. That allows me to get my eyeballs focused back on the importance of the business that I built. And we are just going out there and we literally just want to help impact people. We want to help people succeed in business. And here's the thing. Here's one thing that most coaches won't tell you. People come in because they have problems with their business. Cool. I will help you there. But I can build you the baddest system on the back end of your business as possible. If I don't help elevate you, the individual, you'll never be able to operate that when I walk away.
100%.
Right. So I've got to help elevate you alongside the business simultaneously.
Yeah, 100%, dude. You're full alignment with what I talk about all the time, man. I love it. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to working with you on something, collabing on something, because when you vibe and you're in alignment with a lot of people, there's something that happens. Like you just can't fight it. So Appreciate you being here, brother. And also all of you listening or watching. Appreciate all of you. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, do all you got to do. We're on a YouTube channel, Mike C-Roc, live, streaming live. It'll be up there as well, the replay, and also on your favorite podcast network. Until next time, it's your boy C-Roc and TK in the building. Signing off. Be that one. C-Roc in the building. Thrust is a must.